Hello and welcome to French for Dummies. Now today we're going to be looking at the present tense and in particular what it is used for and how to conjugate both regular and irregular verbs in the present tense. I hope you enjoyed the video and please feel free to leave feedback on my YouTube channel French for Dummies. So, what exactly do we use the present tense for? The big five, that's what. Number one, the present tense refers to an action which occurs at the time of speaking. So something that's happening at that present moment, for example, right now. Perhaps I'm watching the television, for example. Je regarde la télévision. Or Louis is studying English at university at the moment. So, Louis étudie l'anglais à l'université. Or perhaps there's a continuous event which is going on in the present. For example, je ne peux pas lui parler parce que je suis dans la douche. Next, you have actions which are ongoing. So, for example, if someone's in the process of doing something. Number three, you have timeless facts. For example, la Terre tourne autour du soleil. Number four, you have habitual actions, something you do on a daily basis, for example. In some contexts, the present tense can be used to refer to something in the immediate future. For example, demain il part pour Londres. It's all very well knowing what to use the present tense for, but how do we form the present tense when we're writing or speaking, for example? Basically, it's all about verbs and how we can conjugate them or form them in the present tense. In the French language, there are three different patterns we can use to conjugate verbs, depending on whether the verb ends in an ER, an IR, or an RE. Now, let's consider how we should correctly conjugate our ER verbs. I've taken the example of parler, to talk, to explain it to you. Firstly, the words in red are extremely important. They are personal pronouns, so they represent who you're talking to or who you're talking about. So, je is I, tu is you, il, elle or on is he, she or one, nous is we, vous is you when you're talking formally to somebody, and il or elle in the plural sense means they. Words in blue show the conjugated present tense endings. And when conjugating the regular ER verbs, we need to be aware of which endings to use. For je, it's E. For tu, it's ES. For il, elle or on, it's an E. For nous, it's ONS. For vous, it's EZ. And for il or elle, in the plural, it's ENT. Okay, so here are a few regular IR verbs for you to consider, and perhaps you should start thinking about how you might conjugate them now that you know how to conjugate ER verbs. Okay, so now let's consider how we should correctly conjugate these IR verbs. I've chosen the example finir, to finish, to demonstrate this. As you know, the words in red represent the personal pronouns, and the words in blue represent the endings that you would use when you've conjugated the verb finir. When conjugating je, use is, tu is is at the end, il, elle or on is it at the end, n is ons, vous is ez, and il or elle is become ent at the end. Remember, for the nous, vous and il forms of finir, remember to add double s before the ending. Now, here's a few RE verbs for you to get your teeth into. Think about how you might potentially conjugate these in relation to what you've learnt previously. Right. So now you're done thinking about how to conjugate the RE verbs, let's look at how we should actually conjugate them in real life. I have chosen the example of vendre, to sell, to explain this to you. As you know, the words in red represent the personal pronouns, and the words in blue represent the conjugated present tense endings. When conjugating regular RE verbs, we replace the RE with one of the following endings. Je with S, tu, S, il, elle or on with nothing at all, nous, ONS, vous, EZ, and il or elle is ENT. Yes, the time has come for us to look at irregular verbs in the present tense. I thought it would be best to start off by looking at the big daddy of all irregular ER verbs. For me, personally, the big daddy is aller, to go. Unlike regular ER verbs, when conjugating aller, it doesn't follow the normal pattern where you use the stem and then replace the ER with a different ending. This time, you're using completely new forms of the verb. So, for je, you've got ve. For tu, you've got va. For il, elle, or on, you've got va, without an S. For nous, it seems to follow some sort of pattern with an ONS along with the normal stem. For vous, you've got EZ along with the normal stem. And for il, plural, you've got vont. Now it's time to look at irregular verbs ending in CER. Here are a few for you to consider. Why are these CER verbs so irregular in the first place? Well, unlike regular ER verbs, when conjugating the CER verbs, you need to watch out for the new form of the verb. Instead of just replacing the CER with CONS, the C becomes a cedilla, a C with a little number 5, as I like to see it, underneath the C. The other forms, je, tu, il, elle, on, vous, and il and elle, follow a mainly regular pattern. Other types of irregular verbs include stem-changing verbs, i.e. verbs ending in AYER, ELER, ETER, OYER, or UYER. For the first group, the AYER, you replace the Y with an I. For those ending in ELER or ETER, depending which one, you double the L or you double the T. For verbs ending in OYER or UYER, you replace the Y with an I again. What about irregular IR verbs then? Well, there are 3 main types. The first being those verbs which drop the last letter of their stem, such as dormir, to sleep. There are verbs which are conjugated like regular ER verbs, like ouvrir, to open. And then again, there are just those verbs which you just have to know, such as venir, to come. Last, but by no means least, let's look at irregular RE verbs. There are 4 main types of these. Firstly, verbs which drop both last letters of their stem, such as prendre, to take. Verbs which drop the stem's final T, such as mettre, to place. Verbs like rompre, which surprisingly doesn't mean to romp in English, but to break. And verbs ending in eindre, eindre, or oindre, such as craindre, to fear. That's all for now, folks. Thanks very much for listening. I hope that you feel you have learned a little more about the present tense in the French language. Keep an eye out for more videos by French for Dummies on YouTube. Bye!